welcome back everybody. It's your main mathematician coming to you live from Sun Academy. In this video, working on those capstone question practice problems, we're now on C2PI1, talking about some scatter plots. So it says, for this problem, it says the table below shows the number of years of work experience and the yearly salary in thousands of dollars of 8 men who have the same job. So it gives you a table for X values and then gives you the yearly salary for f of x, which is the same as y in thousands of dollars, and gives you some values there. So what we have to do first, it says create a scatter plot to represent the data above, and then we have to sketch that line of best fit. So what you can do is, mainly what you're going to do for this is as follows. You're going to say plot these points on graph given. So what you can do is you can do it like this. You can say, okay, if I have 0.25, say 0.25 is about right here. Let me actually do blue. Say 0.25 is here. We have 234, so 234. Again, some of these are going to be approximate, but it's okay. We have to have some examples in here. Then we have 535, which is here. We have 6,50, so let's have just past it. It's going to be 6,50, which is up here. Then we have 10,50, which is right here. We have 12,55, so about right here. We got 18,63, so we need to move out a little bit further. And let's say, actually 18 is over here. So let's say, actually fix that one. 12 is kind of closer to here. Okay, now we got 18, which is about right here, and 63, so up. It's going to be 63, and then lastly it says 20,75, so about right here. Okay, so what you need to do is just graph out those ordered pairs, and also what you can do is you can pull up your Desmos calculator and plug in those points. So let's show you what that looks like. So I pull up my calculator, and I'm going to say, okay, let me change my picture to match what I need. So on my x-axis, I can change my x-axis to be different labeled. So it says years of experience. And then my axis goes from 0 to 25, and the step, meaning what it's counting by, is by fives. So I can count it by fives. And the similar idea for my y-axis, I'm going to say yearly salary, and it says thousands of dollars. It goes from 0 to 80. And it counts by tens. So now that you have your graph set up, again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that way it fits it all in there. And now we have our matching picture. And so what we can do is we can start typing in what those ordered pairs are going to be. So I'm going to say I have 0,25, and it graphs it out for us. And then what I can do is I can click this little gear button. It says edit list, and I'll pull this up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert to table, so that way it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to create a little scatter plot like this. So I'm going to say I have 2,34. I'm going to use those little arrow keys to kind of move around on your table. 535, 650. I have 1050, and then 1255, and I have 18,63 and 20,75. Okay, so here's our scatter plot. It should look similar to what we have on our graph, and it's not going to be perfect, but we need to just plot those points out. So now that we have this table, let me switch back to what we had on our paper. So kind of looks similar to what we have, and that's good. And now we're going to say, okay, we need to sketch the line. It says to sketch the line of best fit. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to say, we're going to type in, so we plotted these points out on the graph given. So that was step 1. Step 2 was graph on Desmos. Make sure you convert to table, so that way it has it in table form. And then we're going to say for step 3, we have sketch, or we're going to come up with line of best fit. And in order to do that, what you have to be able to do is you need to say you have y1, and then we have tilde m x1 plus b. And in order to get that, I'm going to show you like this. I'm going to say you have to change these two variables in our table, and then we're going to say the tilde button is right next to 1 on your keyboard. So let me show you how to do that. Looking at our graph, we can come up with what our equation is going to be. So like I said, if you relabel, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this y, I'm going to hit shift minus, and it will move the cursor down. I'm going to say 1, so that way it defines it as y sub 1. Same idea with the x, I'm going to say shift minus sub 1, so that way we have a list of x sub 1 and y sub 1. Now we can type out our equation. So I'm going to say y sub 1 shift minus 1 tells us that we have a list. Hit that tilde button. It's also, if you hit the keypad, hit the ABC, and then it's going to be this button right here. That will come up for you. So you can say, okay, let's have m times x sub 1 plus b. And again, this is your linear equation, general equation, because it's in slope-intercept form, and it tells you what m and b are going to be. So see how it has parameters down here? This tells you what values are going to be for m and b, so that way we can come up with our equation. So what I can do now is I can say, okay, let me round my value for m. I'm going to say comma 2, because give me 2 decimal places. Same thing, I'm going to round comma for b. I'm going to say round b comma 2. That way we have our equations. And now what I can say is, let's type in our equation. So let's put it all together. I'm going to say f of x equals, I'm going to say 2.2 times x plus 28.34. So notice how it overlaps it, because that's what our line of best fit is going to be. And so what you can do is you can close out of this now, so that way I can get rid of some of these values. So this is going to be our equation for what we need. So let me switch back to here. So I'm going to say, we can sketch our line here in a second, but here's our function. So I'm going to say, let's write our function. So I'm going to say our function was f of x. Let me actually write it like this one more time. I said we have y1 tilde m times x sub 1 plus b. So that's how you get your values for your variables. And we're going to say, round m comma 2 gets us to be 2.2. We said round b comma 2 to get our value for b, which was 28.34. Let me double check on that real quick. Yeah. Okay, so here's our two values. Put it all together. We need to write it as f of x because we need to do our part C, which I'll show you here in a second. So we say f of x equals, we say 2.2 times x plus 28.34. So this is a little bit weird at first, but as long as you get your equation, again, when you graph out your line, it should be that same line of best fit. So if you're ever unsure, just make sure you graph out this line first, and it will sketch your curve, or it will sketch your line of best fit, which should be a linear equation, and then we can get our next curve after it. So let me try to graph this out. So let's come up with how to graph this out. So we had our original point. So it's goes through, let me actually show you what I'm looking at real quick. So that way we can sketch out our curve. Okay. So what I could do is I could say, well, it starts at that 28.34, which is our y-intercept, and it goes through 25, let's say 25 and like 84 or something, 83. Okay. And so what I could do is kind of eyeball it, and that way we can figure out what we need. So start at at 28.34. So let me sketch my line of best fit on here. I say, let's graph out, I'll do black so we can see it. So it's at 28.34, so about like right here-ish. And it said 25 and up here. So again, as long as you kind of sketch it out, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. We're kind of just doing an example. So let's sketch our line out like this. And it should be, in between those points where you try to have like an equal number above and below those points. But since we can get our exact equation, that's why we graphed it out in here. All right. So now for part C, it says Mark has the same job and 15 years of work experience. Predict Mark's salary in thousands of dollars and then justify your answer algebraically using a function you wrote in part B and plot your point on the scatter plot in part A. So what you could do, a couple ways to do this. We're going to say this. We're going to say here is our equation. We said f of x equals 2.2x plus 28.34. And we're saying, well, this person has 15 years of experience, so we're saying let x equal 15. So what we're finding is f of 15. So what you can do, plug it in anywhere where you have an x, you now have 15. So we're going to say this is equal to, or f of 15 is equal to 2.2 times 15 plus 28.34. So we say f of 15 is equal to, multiply this out, it's going to be, I think it's 33. Let me double check on the calculator real quick. So 2.2 times 15, yep, 33. Okay, just want to double check. So this is 33 plus 28.38, or sorry, 28.34. Add these two together, and so all together it should be, I think it's 61.34. Yeah, so add these two together, I say 61.34. And what does that mean for our problem? Well, this gives us the ordered pair, so let me say this. Do green here, and we'll say creates ordered pair. Again, that's the x and y value, but it creates the ordered pair 15, 61.34. And so when we go to graph it out, if you actually look on your graph, so let me go back to our graph in part A. So we're saying 15, which is going to be right here, and it should be, what did we say, about 60, 61. So if we graphed it out a little bit better, actually, let me fix that graph a little bit. Move that up to like here-ish. It should match up, but we're going to say it's going to be about, let's say about right here. Well, let's label that point. So we said 15, 61.34. Make sure that's a 4. Okay. Graph out that point. Notice how it's on the line because, when we plug in that point, it should be on that line. And let me make sure to see if there's anything else we did. So justify answer algebra. Yep, and plot that point. So we did what we needed to. Okay. So now, again, creates that ordered pair, so we're good on that part. Okay. And part D, a little bit different now. So we're going to say, Marge recalls a signing bonus being in place for female employees. Andrew believes that this may raise the initial salary level, but does not believe that there will be any other impact in the line of best fit. So we're going to be looking at that line of best fit. Marge disagrees. The table shows the number of years of work experience in relation to the yearly salary in thousands of dollars of 8 women of the same job. So it gives us another table. We're going to label that G of X now. It says, who do you agree with? Justify your reasoning algebraically or graphically. So we can do a couple different ways. So what we're going to do is let me actually pull up Desmos, and I'm going to type in my new table. So I'm going to keep this table here. I have my line of best fit. Let's do, I think it was like a blue, do a bluish color for the let's say for the men. And let's type out our second table. So I say, same as before, ordered pairs, I say 0, 30. And what I can do, now I can click the edit list button, convert to table, and the same kind of thing. But now we're going to say, hey, let's label this as X sub 2 because we need to have a new list. Okay, so now we can type it in. So we have 3, 33. We have 5, 35. We have 8, 40. We have 10, 42. 13, 45. And we have 17, 47. And lastly, we have 20, 50. Okay, so it graphs out these points. Again, they're points. Let's do, let's actually change these to blue as well. So that way we know what points we're talking about. And let's change these to, let's do a nice pink color. That way it's easy to see. Okay, so now, same setup for this. We're going to come up with the line of best fit for the female employees. So what I'm going to say, same kind of setup, but what we can do is we can have, I'm going to have Y shift -2 gives us a list. We know we're on the right track. And I say, again, tilde, so I pull up my keypad, ABC, tilde, a little squiggly line. And same thing, I'm going to say M X sub 2 plus B. Notice how it graphs that line out for us. We know we're on the right track because notice how it has a different line and kind of cuts through those points on the scatter plot. We have our value for M and our value for B, and so it comes up with this linear graph. What that means is, as we're looking at this graph, we can say, okay, if you look at that y-intercept is higher than the blue line. So we're looking at this pink or orange line. We're saying, hey, this line, let me actually change that to pink so that way it matches. Okay. We're saying, looking at this pink line, the y-intercept is higher, so the initial starting pay is higher. However, the slope, meaning my value of M, is going to be less. So what that means is we have less money over time. So again, you can kind of graph it out. You can use, your graph on your page to be able to graph it out for yourself. But what we're going to say is this. Let me pull up what we have and be able to say it. So let's say this. Let's say using the graph, we see the y-intercept is higher for female employees. A little better. Employees. And we could say, however, the slope is lower, which means less money over time. Because if you look at, just looking at the last couple points, we had someone with 20 years of experience but only making $50,000. And so what that means is, it's going to change it's going to change how our slope is going to be because you're earning less money over time. So even though the initial starting amount is higher, it just means less money over time. So now make sure that you can see how these are working. Again, make sure you ask questions on how to type it in using Desmos. Again, be sure to use Desmos for each of these parts. And as always, be sure to super slam that subscribe button.